Test 1, 2, check, check.
How is everybody on this fine late afternoon, early evening? Good to see a good crowd. It is 5:31, so we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. This is a joint workshop meeting of the Flagler Beach City Commission, Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, Palm Coast City Council, City of Bunnell Commission, Town of Beverly Beach Commission, and Town of Marineland, all together to discuss important topics that affect all of us. Again, this is Wednesday, March 12th, 2025. If everybody could rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and we'll take a brief moment of silence as we reflect on the men and women that protect us, our armed forces and military overseas and abroad, and our first responders here locally. All right, thank you very much. Again, good to see everybody here today. The purpose of these meetings is to discuss issues that impact our communities, develop a collective approach for addressing future challenges, and today we're bringing everybody together as a follow-up for the Beach Nourishment Program, the Beach Management Plan, and the information that the county has been distributing to the municipalities. Before we get going, I want to make sure that we acknowledge everybody that is here. So if I could start on my left, if just a brief introduction here and your name and your municipality, and the Honorable Pete Young will start us off.
Yep, my name is Pete Young, Commissioner of Bunnell. I'm glad to be here.
Mike Norris, Palm Coast Mayor.
Ty Miller, Palm Coast City Council.
Greg Hansen, County Commissioner, District 2.
Andy Dance, Flagler County Chair.
Eric Cooley, City of Flagler Beach.
Scott Spradley, City of Flagler Beach.
Mayor Emmett, Beverly Beach.
Jeff Skyma, Commissioner, Beverly Beach.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody. Kind of how we will, the flow of today's meeting, I'll give a brief review and summary, status, if you will, of where we are. And then we will open up the chambers for the comments from the dais, the different commissioners, councilmen, and then open it up for public comment and get additional feedback from the citizens. So as you know, the county has developed a countywide management plan and a funding plan that incorporates the construction of the beach nourishment and then the maintenance of the beach nourishment. We've had the opportunity, our administrator, Ms. Petito, and Jorge Salinas, the deputy, have gone around to each of the municipalities and presented so that we could get feedback. The purpose of those meetings was to present the plan that we've come up with as a first draft, if you will, review the challenges that we encountered coming up with that plan, and then the opportunities that present themselves to be able to fund the maintenance and the renourishment. We've got great feedback from everybody, and we've made a few adjustments, so we'll go over those as well. But as you know, the plan really rests on the fact that the beach is a countywide benefit. It's a benefit to the entire Flagler Beach community, from the beach all the way out to the west. As a coastal community, the county enjoys unique advantages that drive economic growth, enhance quality of life, and strengthen our identity. Tourism fuels local businesses, generating significant revenue and job opportunities. A recent study showed that there's an $890 million economic impact, and supports just under 12,000 jobs countywide. That's approximately 23% of the workforce. Our coastal environment fosters a high quality of life, offering recreation, natural beauty, and a strong sense of place. Our coastline defines our community's identity, attracting residents and visitors alike. Additionally, our investment in coastal resiliency ensures long-term sustainability, protecting both the economy and a way of life for future generations. In preparing the funding mechanism for beach management, it includes different concepts depending on the municipality. So the major component of the funding is through an additional half-penny sales tax that is available to the county. And the equitable distribution of the sales tax really breaks down where, and there's a sheet that's in front of everybody, shows the breakdown where Flagler County, and this is just the first year, the Flagler County BOCC will contribute its entire sales tax contribution to the funding mechanism. That's $4.7 million in the first year. Beverly Beach, the coastal barrier island communities, Flagler Beach, Beverly Beach, and Marineland will contribute their share of the sales tax revenue 100% as well. As a reflection of the countywide commitment to beach management, the inland communities of Bunnell and Palm Coast would contribute 50% of their allocation, which would leave them 50% of the sales tax amount for items that benefit them, their capital programs, their important needs within their communities. So this proposed approach ensures that new sales tax revenues are distributed countywide based on the value and benefits generated by the beach management project, promoting fairness and aligning funding with community impact. It also ensures that tourists, which equate to close to 30% of all sales tax revenues being generated in Flagler County, are being applied toward our biggest tourist attraction and community asset. So the other component is through the tourist development tax. It is a 5% tax on heads and beds, and it's broken down by statute as how the TDC can utilize those monies. A fifth of it is utilized currently for beach management, and that will continue to be funding. Tourism funding will continue to flow to this plan on that 20%. The other fifth is a capital program where money is set aside as grants to the municipalities within the county to apply for. So, as an example, the Southern Recreation Center received the prior grant for close to $700 million, I believe, and then the recent grant recipient was the city of Flagler Beach for their boardwalk. So that's the benefit of that other fifth of the tax. And what we're looking to ask the TDC to do is allocate the next 3 years of that allocation to construction, to adding it to the construction of the dune system. So whereas it is identified for capital needs, the next 3 years would help make this plan viable, and the money from that capital program would go into the construction that is needed in those first 3 years. So the next step for this is, continuing the community outreach. Just yesterday, Ms. Petito presented to the Flagler County School Board. So you think, why are we presenting to the school board? Well, the school board is heavily dependent on property tax and property tax values. And there's been a correlation where drops in property tax values, if we get a storm and it does the damage that we know it can do with unprotected dunes, that drops in property values would have a significant impact on the school district. The school district is limited. They can't raise money on their own. The state dictates their revenue streams and sources. So we just felt it important that the school district and the board members understand the importance of this program as well. So moving forward, I think you'll hear from a couple of municipalities that have had some additional workshops that came about after the initial presentation. They followed that up with workshops and came together to provide feedback today. Those that haven't had workshops yet, we'll continue to make ourselves available to those workshops and bring additional information as needed. What we're hoping to do is for everybody to coalesce around, really it's the sales tax distribution plan. The one part I didn't mention was for the Barrier Island, there is a taxing unit of $160 per property that was presented as a need for each of those municipalities, the residents within those municipalities. It's called a benefit unit, and we're able to use that benefit unit because there's a distinct benefit for the people and the properties on the Barrier Island that they receive separate from everybody else for the renourished and the hardened beach. It goes to protecting the natural environment, protecting the access to their properties. A1A is the major point of access up and down the Barrier Island, and protects property values and a slew of other benefits that we discussed at our meetings. So we've had a lot of feedback on that one line item, and we've come up with a couple suggestions that may mitigate that. And I think there'll be future discussions with those municipalities to harden that one line item based on their individual needs of their residents. So moving forward, we'll hear today from all the municipalities that are here. We will again take feedback that we received today to fine-tune the plan so that everybody in our minds can coalesce around ultimately the sales tax distribution and the taxing benefit units. Once there's a consensus among the individual boards that they agree with this, we will be able to bring back a interlocal agreement. And the interlocal agreement is what binds everybody together in this plan. That's the only way that we will be able to distribute the sales tax money to the municipalities. And the only way that those municipalities can allocate their 100% share back to this plan. So one of the feedback we got was about how can we be confident that the monies are going to go where they're supposed to. And I've had that conversation early on with the administrator, and it was refreshing to hear that from some of the other commissioners. So we've worked on a plan to where we can establish what we'll call a Municipal Beach Management Oversight Committee. And what this looks to do is to bring back annually representatives from each of the municipalities to gather with the financial staff to show how the monies have been received, how they've been distributed, and what they've been used for. So an annual accounting of these dollars that we show within the plan, within the funding plan, will be reviewed in public meeting annually so that the residents can have confidence that the plan that we're putting together and the revenues that are being acquired will go where they're supposed to go, where they're intended to go, and each of the members of the municipality can have confidence in reviewing that and see that we're living up to the promise. We also had feedback on the $160 flat property tax, the municipal benefit unit tax, and I think in that regard, we've identified that some areas, not everybody is uniquely balanced on the Barrier Island. There are many very expensive homes, but there are still many people that don't have expensive homes, maybe fixed income. And we're going to work toward putting together a grant program. The county is committed to working on a grant program that residents who have difficulties in that $160 will, based on need, be able to apply for the grant. That hasn't been flushed out 100%, but we identified that has been a concern, and we want to, at least for those that are the most impacted, will have an opportunity to be able to apply for grant monies to offset that tax. I think that does it. And the $160 is, there's some leeway in that as well. What we've done is been able to determine the amount for each of the municipalities that $160 equates to. So discussions with those municipalities on the Barrier Island, we want to make sure that we give them an opportunity to have flexibility. And maybe it's a plan where half of it is the benefit unit, but they've identified a different source of income to make up the difference. And we'll have opportunities still to work out some of those details to make sure that at least the funding silos, if you will, that we've identified some flexibility built into those. I think I've said enough. At this point, I will turn it over to the members on the dais for comments. So if there's somebody that wants to start us off, maybe Flagler Beach, or Mayor Emmett goes quick to raise the hand, so you have the floor, sir.
Yeah, I just want to get it over with. I want to take this time to thank the county, Heidi and Hamid, who are the county administrator and the county engineer, who came to our town Monday night when we had our workshop. And they didn't get to say too much there because we tried to control that meeting amongst the commissioners. But I was surprised that after the meeting, and we had a house full, that people gathered around them and asked them questions, which they rapidly answered. It went very well. I think they got a feel of our community a little bit more, okay? And so I just wanted to say thank you very much for coming to our workshop, Heidi and Ahmad, okay? Yeah, we'll give you a call, okay? All right. Beverly Beach has always worked with the county since 1955. I cannot think of a time that we didn't, okay? We've always tried to stand behind the county with whatever they were trying to do. This is very controversial in our town, and I'm sure it is in the other towns, okay? And what I got from the residents in talking to them, the biggest concern, of course, is the tax increase. Now, there wasn't that big a rhubarb over the half cent, but the MSBU, which you just explained, and talking with the county administrator and whatnot, we have like 3 different ideas that we are going to approach with the county. They're in a way that we can reduce that 160, 150 a year on the 6-year program, I believe it is. Okay, some of the questions were asked, well, is that going to be a continuation after 6 years? Are we going to get more tax? Blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, we're in the infancy of this, okay? We're discussing amongst our residents, you know, they all have different opinions. Everything's 50-50. We're still moving along in the right direction, I believe, okay? That we're working for our communities. And my community, we will sit down with the county in reference to somewhat of what you just talked about, the grants in reference to people that can't afford on the MSBU, right? To try and lower the cost. And there's other things that we have internally that we're talking about where maybe we will have to stand up to the plate and pay out some money town-wise. Okay, so I just wanted to let everybody know that. But I wanted the county to know, we work with you. Yes, I can be negative at times, and yes, I can say things that I probably shouldn't say, but I do it, okay? Everybody's smiling, okay, because they know they've heard me. Anyways. Oh, there was one question, and I think that's been answered too, where that if we go into this program under the MSBU, will that be the money paid? I was asked, is that going to be put in writing? Okay, and it seems like you guys have already agreed that there will be no increase in that 6-year time frame on an MSBU, right? And
Right.
that when it's over, correct?
Correct. And the benefit of the annual review is because it's the annual review is necessary because of the uncontrollable situations with the beach. So whether storms come or they don't come, a lot of things will change annually. Those calculations could vary. So we want to keep it open to at some point in the future where it may not be needed that we have that flexibility.
Let's hope you do.
Right.
Okay? Because that's important. This is a big issue for the people, okay? And I think it's going to resolve itself. Normally, it always does, okay? I'm going to make an announcement because I got some of the mayors here. On the 19th at 12 o'clock p.m., we have our luncheon over at the town hall in Beverly Beach for the 5 mayors of the county, okay? So put it on your calendar. We need to see you. All right?
All right.
Okay.
That's the 19th of
This-
April?
Yeah, this month,
March.
March.
March 19th at 12 p.m. at City Hall
Yeah.
in Beverly Beach. Okay.
Yes.
It's in May.
Huh? Well, I'm sorry.
May 19th.
May 19th. I'm sorry. I'm recovering from all this.
All right.
okay?
May 5th is what I'm hearing.
May 19th. It is May
To
19th.
be verified. May 5th right now is the
You
consensus.
know what? I'll go with you, Dance. No problem.
All right,
Okay.
let's do it. You know, I've got May 19th written down here. It might be my wife's anniversary or something.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It's your anniversary.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I got it written down on my calendar so you don't forget.
Okay.
The only thing I have, he just asked all the questions, is a lot was raised about the MSBU 160. And you, Heidi, and everybody's answered it pretty much. It's going to stay the same, it's going to go 6 years, and it's not starting to 2027. And that's all pretty much controversy I heard from people. So I put that back to you.
Right. I don't want to put false information out there. We will clarify the initial length of that 160 because, as I understand, it will stay in effect until it is not needed. I don't know that there's the initial renourishment is 6 years, but we know that the statistics say we need those first 3 nourishments to really settle the beach. So,
Yeah, he talked about the grant already. Also, in your padding, in your estimates and everything else, are we figuring beach renourishment cost 2-3 years escalating?
yes, those are built in.
They're built in?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really a system of estimates that are built in.
Risky.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Dew? Dewey Dew?
Yeah, thank you for having me. So the county administrator, Heidi, she had a very extensive presentation at our town meeting.
Oh, can you guys hear me better now? So the county administrator had very impressive presentation at our last town meeting. And we came to a consensus that it's important for us as a part of Flagler County to support this collective approach because it's a very important issue for the community. And so we just want to pledge our full support.
All right. Thank you, sir. Commissioner Spradley.
Thank you, Commissioner Dance. First of all, we were in Flagler Beach, the beneficiaries of 2 presentations from Heidi Petito. One as an agenda item at a regular meeting where the county's plan was first discussed, commented on, public commented on, and then we had our workshop last week, which was also an opportunity to see and hear the plan again, to discuss it, this time at length among the commissioners, and then also for public comment. The short version is that the city commissioners unanimously support the county in its efforts with some tweaking that has been discussed. But, you know, in Flagler Beach, not only are we a coastal town, but putting on our other hat as members of the county, we agree with what has been said widely, that the beach itself is the most lucrative asset in the county, you know, from an economic perspective, tourist perspective, lifestyle, and things such as that. So while we in Flagler Beach join everyone else that we don't want tax increases on anything, but what we have to do is look at the alternative to that, and that is how are we going to pay for the beach unless we continue to renourish and build it and do what needs to be done to keep that beach there. And so from the perspective of Flagler Beach, we're very supportive of the county's plan. We appreciate the efforts that have been made to it. And then we look forward to the fine tuning that I expect will occur between now and when hopefully we have an interlocal agreement on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Cooley?
Thank you. I just wanted to cover some of the discussion with the assumptions and the rationales that drove the consensus that Flagler Beach had. And it might provoke some discussion, and it might also give some insight as to why. So this was not decided of, oh, well, you have a beach, let's just jump on with the county, because anybody that knows Flagler Beach knows that sometimes we don't play nice when it comes to these things. And we like to have control over these type of initiatives. So there was a lot of hesitation. But so I have about 15 years of the institutional knowledge of the government in the beach. So for about at least that long, if not longer, all the municipalities in the county, plus the unincorporated, and the state have been asking the county to come up with a fully funded beach management plan. That discussion's been going on for forever. And it took a long time for that to happen. And one of the assumptions is at this point in time, the county is not going to let the number one asset in the county go with little to no maintenance or underfunded maintenance, because that won't do any good. Then if you don't have a robust beach management program and you're just picking at it, it won't hold up. And the Army Corps taught us that when they came to town and they did Flagler Beach. You cannot pick and choose areas. It has to be the whole entire thing uninterrupted. And so we know that county at this point in time does not want to be the odd man out in the state and have Flagler County be one of the only counties that does not have a fully funded beach management program. And the state even let us know that many years ago. And the risks are too high from an economic standpoint, an infrastructure standpoint, a quality of life standpoint. The assumption that we made in Flagler Beach is county is going to move forward with some type of fully funded beach management program, even if there is pushback in municipalities, if there's some pockets of pushback, because the risk is too great to not do. And everyone acknowledges it at the state level, at the engineering level, and at the Corps level. So if the county was to go forward and not follow a program that uses a broad spectrum of, funds coming in, then the risk is that, let's say it could get incorporated in the mill rate. If it gets incorporated in the mill rate, then you are taking what is a broad spectrum of funds coming in, and a big chunk of it's paid for by folks that don't live here. You have sales tax, you have bed tax, you have all these taxes that are paid for non-residents. If it gets incorporated in the mill rate, now it's being paid for by residents, which means that tax would actually be higher because you're not leveraging non-resident taxing. And so that's a big risk. And if you look at just what the risk is by not doing a program like this, all the areas around us, Duval, St. John's, Volusia, you get all the way down, they all have robust beach management programs. And let's be honest, our economy is heavily based on tourism. And that applies to all the municipalities. All municipalities benefit. And if the beach was not fully maintained at a high level that it's believed that only the county will be able to do. Flagler Beach doesn't have the capacity. Alton Marine Land, Beverly, we don't have by ourselves that capacity, so it would have to be done by the county. You're looking at unintended consequences. You're looking at things like a self-imposed potential recession, and that's going to affect your sales tax coming in. That's going to affect your appraised property values, which is then going to start affecting your budgets. And then you're also taking a big hit in the bed tax, and the bed tax is millions of dollars. So, the rationale is if you can have a program that is like this, that is a very nominal amount from everyone, then that's much more desirable than say, getting into mill rate, where now you have just residents paying for it. This plan was actually pretty impressive because this is millions of dollars coming from tourism. You have about $2.5 million. You have the MSBU bringing money in. And one of the other, assumptions and rationales that we made is when we get into an agreement, because there was a little bit concern about why do some municipalities, or why are they going to keep half of the money? Because everybody wants to know. Say, for instance, Barrier Island's paying 100% plus a MSBU, but then other municipalities were not paying MSBU and then keeping half. But when you get into a collaborative agreement like this, it becomes a what's in it for me style agreement. And everyone has to have something in it for them. And the municipalities that are set to keep half of the earnings from that sales tax have great benefit. And so it's something that allows our partner municipalities to win as well. And that's why that would be a big deal for us to support, because we have benefit because there's a beach management program that is fully funded in place. And our municipalities, our brother and sister municipalities, get to benefit from that as well, because they're going to be able to take on a lot of extra money by keeping that 50% of that half-cent sales tax. And so it was just heavily relied on that, having a broad spectrum of funds that come in that don't just rely on our county residents to pay for it was much more beneficial than the risk of, let's say this isn't agreed on and the county is not going to let the beach go. So it's going to get funded by somebody. And, the only somebody that there is residents at that point, and that's not desirable. And so I just wanted to share that so everybody really understands kind of what drove some of the decision-making that happened in Flagler Beach and the discussion and how we arrived at that. It's basically a win for everybody at that point. And that's something that we can get behind.
Very well said. Thank you. I'll turn my left. My neck was getting stuck going this way, but I'll turn this way, and we'll start with Mr. Young with the City of Bunnell. Commissioner Young.
I was hoping to be last because some of the questions were being answered.
Turn your mic on there, sir.
Okay. Some of the questions I did have were answered, like other counties in the state of Florida, what kind of fundings are they getting, or have they adopted for beach management? Have they gone to the half-cent tax, or are they going to taxing the residents?
Okay, I'll let Commissioner Hansen has vast experience in this as well. So let Commissioner Hansen have the floor for a second and answer you.
Most of the counties that have beaches pay for the beach renourishment entirely with TDC money. Entirely. But they get more in the first month of the year than we get the entire year for a TDC, because they have a lot of tourists and they're bigger, a lot bigger than we are. Right. So that's just a fact of life. We don't have that big a pot of money in the TDC. We are going to take, we're going to try to take 3 pennies from them for a few years, so that our TDC contributes more to the fact. But the majority of the counties just pay with TDC money.
Okay, and my next question is it working? Is the program working for them? And how long?
Yeah, they are, and it's been pointed out that we don't have a beach management plan, and we're the only county that has ocean front property that doesn't have a beach management plan. But in our defense, we've never needed one. We didn't have any problems till Matthew. But we have to do it now, and so we're doing it. That's why we're sitting here today.
Okay, and that's another question I had was, you may have answered it. Does this also include state and federal funding, or is there none whatsoever?
No, we have an ongoing federal funding, state and federal funding component, where we have a lot of things in the works already, and we're hoping that additional federal funding will be coming our way, state and federal. But you can't build the plan around those potentials. When those monies come in, the plan will be readjusted based on those annual meetings. But you just can't build a plan on a wish. And we've seen the turmoil that's happening in Washington, D.C. right now, so we have to have control of the plan. So obviously, we continue daily working those state and federal aisles.
The state continues to put in their budget every year. They put in for beach renourishment. And last year, they actually singled out Flagler County as needing money, and we got it. So rest assured that we will go up there, and we're going up there next week, and to lobby, if you will, to make sure we're included once again in that list, and put our name in there, so that we're eligible for that funding. We're going to try every year to get whatever we can.
Okay, and in the committee that you're going to be putting together, is that going to, this funding is only going to go to for re-nourish the beach, not to repair damages on the beach or property on the beach?
It goes
Like
toward constructing. Some places don't have the renourishment yet, so the constructing the initial dune and the extension, and then every 6 years also includes the renourishment of those areas affected. Now, it will depend on storms that come. Some storms, a named storm that hits us, we get additional contributions from on those areas where the Army Corps has helped us. So they come in and take most of that funding to repair it when a named storm hits. So there's a lot of moving parts in this.
And the easements that we're requiring from residents and from communities up and down the beach will allow us to be able to get Cat G funding. And that's FEMA, that's big check. That's a big money, and that's to pay for damages. And we're working on that now, getting those easements from everybody up north of Flagler Beach.
But it won't pay for property damage from
No,
other
that's
residents?
that's the individual resident's
Yeah,
problem.
okay.
It's not our problem.
We can come back to you, Pete, so.
Well, yeah. I just, well, first of all, I'm not speaking for the whole board of commissioners, but we're all five of us commissioners, mayor, is open-minded to this idea. And that's why I was happy to come and talk and try to answer some questions that were answered to me or asked of me. So I may have a few more questions later on.
Sure.
Thank you.
All right, very good. City of Palm Coast, who wants to take the mic?
I got it, Commissioner. Thank
Okay,
you.
very good.
I appreciate Ms. Petito and her team coming over and giving us the plan. We finally saw the plan. And I think the last time I was here, I said, I'm a conservative. I don't want anybody's taxes to go up. And the reason that sometimes I look at the half-cent sales tax is not that. It's a consumer tax. You know, it's consumption. The more you spend, the more you pay. But food and necessities, as I mentioned before, are not taxed. And that's the main thing that are killing working-class citizens today. But Ms. Petito came over and she gave us the plan. And our city council received the plan, and 3 of the council members want this measure to go on a referendum. And I don't necessarily accept that philosophy. And I'm, you know, I can be negotiated with, but right now I can't do anything with this. I want to help the county out, and I know it's an important measure, but when 3 council members want it to go on a referendum, there's not much I can do. There's only 4 of us. 3 of us were elected. So that's their call. Unless you can convince them otherwise, I'm only 1 vote on the council. But I would like to say that I think Palm Coast would be pulling more than their fair share on this measure. But getting over that hump with the rest of the council, and I think it's a bit easier to sell to the public when you say, look, half-cent sales tax, when you're buying your groceries, they're not being taxed. When grandma's buying her medication, it's not being taxed. But it does benefit the county, and you know I appreciate Ms. Petito coming over and giving us her briefing. But that's where we stand right now, and we can't have outside discussions outside the sunshine. So that was my feedback at the last council meeting. I was the only one that was willing to think about it. So that's where we stand, Commissioner.
Right.
Yield back.
Thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to add to the mayor's comments. I think, you know, you guys are aware that we faced some headwinds in terms of funding and getting buy-in from the residents. We're facing utility issues and other things. You guys are residents of Palm Coast, so you understand. And so in the difficulty of trying to convince residents to pay for utilities, which so far we have been unable to do, it's difficult to convince them to pay for a beach that's not within the city limits as well. I am open to this funding mechanism, and I appreciate the complexity of it, the thought that has gone into it, the need for buy-in from multiple partners. This is certainly not an easy undertaking. So I think that we can be willing to bring it back to council again. I think we face some headwinds there, and we still have more work to do in that regard. There was also I'm sure you guys got this feedback from the county administrator, but we also got some feedback in regards to public safety and the potential for a need for that sales tax to fund either sheriff operations in the future and things like that. So there was some concern with that as well, but just wanted to share that with you guys so that you're aware.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Hanson, did you want to tie in? Okay.
No, we're doing fine. Thanks.
I will say on a couple of the comments, obviously I had listened in that day when Ms. Petito presented to the city of Palm Coast and was listening to the comments. And just want to make sure that I think there was confusion that you as a council had to vote to approve the sales tax. And really what we are asking the council to do is to agree to that distribution formula. The county commissioners are taking the political hit. It falls on us to vote this as a supermajority for it to go through without a referendum. And referendums are used, I think it was explained in one of the news articles, if you're bonding. And this is a pay-as-you-go plan. So we've already saved enough money for constructing the second reach. But if we implement this plan this year, we start building those monies to be able to construct the next phase and then turn around and pay for the renourishments. So without the need to bond, it can be accomplished through a supermajority of the commission. So that will fall on us to take that. What we're asking for through the cities and municipalities is agreement with so that we can enter an interlocal on sharing those funds, those sales tax funds.
One other concern, Commissioner Dance, is we would have to see how the ordinance is written.
Obviously.
And how we can use the funds, because we really need help on our roads.
Right.
Our roads, that microsurfacing, it's helping, but we need it. We need that. We could use it. I don't want to keep raising people's taxes. And,
right.
Me and Councilman Miller, we're in about 100 days in. So you certainly don't want to be tagged as someone that just keeps raising taxes unnecessarily. But we would want to see how we could use those funds. It would have to be, we'd have to know the specifics on that.
And we'll leave that entirely up to you guys. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
I think Mr. Miller's now, the famous quote that keeps going around was, "None of us have been elected to raise anybody's taxes." That's been, since you've said that, it's been repeated numerous times.
Oh, I haven't heard that was a famous quote, but to echo the mayor's comments, absolutely the benefit of keeping 50% of that can go a long way to multiple projects. We have residents that are pushing for an aquatics facility because we have an aging facility, and we're trying to work a partnership with the YMCA, and part of that requires some funding. So, in 1 year, this could help with that. And another year, it could help with roads and turn lane projects that we're working on to ease the traffic on the Belterre corridor. So there 100% are plenty of benefits that we would gain from this this funding mechanism, so to speak, and this program, this partnership with everybody. So just want to acknowledge that. I don't think that's, or I don't want you to think that I don't acknowledge that there's many benefits for us as well, away from strictly the beach, because that's also a benefit. I think the last time that we had this meeting, I talked about, growing up here and, as a Palm Coast resident, utilizing that beach all the time. And, for a brief period, I was also a resident of Flagler Beach as well. So, daily used it when I lived there. So, from a personal standpoint, I believe it to be an important project that is necessary. Again, just want to reiterate the challenges we face in terms of the headwinds of, trying to get this through. And so I appreciate that you are saying that, that's all on you guys. And so, we can bring it back and talk again. I don't know if we're time bound in any way.
It's a budget issue, so what we will do, probably, I had talked to your administrator earlier today, just trying to figure out a time in maybe your April agenda where it can come back.
We're a little busy right now.
You are very busy.
In case you weren't aware.
You're very busy, yes. And I do want to say, I'll repeat, all right, and put some importance on what you said about this being really a generational improvement. I talked when I was at Commissioner Spradley's town hall a couple weekends ago. When I've been here 53 years and I was, a 9-year-old at the time, and those initial memories of our family all congregating at the beach on weekends after working the cattle business and the hay fields and everything, you can't wait to get out and jump into the ocean. But I've been able to also raise my children here as well, and 4th of July memories of, those all-day sunburns and all the other surfing, learning how to surf. Those things are built in, and want to be able to maintain and preserve the beach for their, my grandchildren and future generations here in the county. It's important. I think Commissioner Cooley, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Yeah, just hearing the discussion with some of the folks, and one of the first things is we talk about what are the other counties doing as far as funding go, and Commissioner Hansen hit the nail on the head. Is when you look at other counties, and we'll just take some counties that are close to us. You got Volusia, you got St. John's and Duval. They have extremely robust tourism. The reasons to visit Jacksonville and the surrounding area, there's thousands and thousands of them. And, in Daytona, you have, the raceway and you have the iconic beach. And so they're bringing in vast amounts more in bed tax than what our county brings in. And if you look at, okay, why do people visit Flagler County? The number one reason is the beach. And that's what drives our, basically our whole industry. And that's data driven. But it's unfortunate. We're behind the curve and the 8 ball as far as having enough visitors come to county to be able to have enough bed tax to leverage. It would be good, and it will probably happen very far distant in the future. You're talking 20 years that there will be enough bed tax to cover potentially the funding for the beach. And then we wouldn't have to rely on our citizens at all. Unfortunately now, though, in order to protect it, it has to be shared. And that was one of the discussion points in our meeting is it's going to be the impact to our own county taxpayers is, we'll call it as minimal as possible. How do you pay for this big tab of the beach and do it in a way that you keep the impact to Flagler County residents as low as possible? And unfortunately, there's not really any other ways to do it, because if you look at where the funds are coming from, it's about as spread out as you can get. And you can also cannot get, grants were brought up and state funding was brought up, and you can't get those at all from the state unless you have a fully funded beach management program already in place. If you go to the state and ask for funding and you don't have a fully funded beach management program in place, they tell you no. They'll decline it and say, come back when you have a funded beach management program. So that's a risk of not moving forward. And as far as the other municipalities being able to leverage the assets coming in, for instance, Palm Coast, you guys are looking at $3 to $4 million every year in funds that one of the nice things that comes out of that is not your residents paying for all of that. That's the tourism industry paying for it, and, you know, all the other factors that go with it. Because the tourism industry, you have sales tax and you have bed tax, and all of those are going in the pot. And that was really what Flagler Beach found that desirable. If there's a way for Palm Coast to benefit from this directly and pull in $3 to $4 million every year of additional funding so y'all can accomplish your projects, that actually was that's desirable to Flagler Beach as well. And you know, our elected got behind that.
Yes.
In any way, Flagler Beach, will your operations be affected by this renourishment as far as the lifeguards, the police, and everything like that?
You can ask.
No, we don't see that. We don't see
Okay.
this as impacting that at all.
Thank you.
All right, any final comments before we go to public? All right, well, at this time, we'll open it up for public comment. Typical with the meetings, we'll have 3 minutes. Just come up to the podium and state your name and address. And, Carlos is all set? Okay, so if there's anybody that wishes to address our combined group, now's the time. Come up to the mic. Yep, you got beat.
You got beat. Hi, everybody. My name is Ellen Carpendania. I'm a resident of Beverly Beach, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to have some time, give some thoughts. We were not offered an opportunity for comments at our own workshop, and I think it is important to get feedback from the residents. I've put together my thoughts on paper. I'm going to give them to you, Andy. We've met before at some of Scott's Saturday morning. I've titled this A Principle of Fairness. I want to make a few comments to all concerned, and I'm going to ask specifically for the Bunnell and the Palm Coast and the Flagler County folks to really open their ears and keep an open mind, because I'm going to approach this problem from a little bit different perspective. First, let's state the facts. We've been given a very large sum of money to renourish our beach, and I'm hoping that everybody in this room would agree that it would be a huge mistake to let this gift go to waste. That would be like cutting off our nose to spite our face. Perhaps do nothing, let nature take its course, is the viewpoint of a few folks in this room. But think about how future generations will judge that choice. We need to be good stewards of this resource. So the question becomes, how can we pay for the maintenance in such a way that everyone can agree to move forward? Now, I really appreciate that Flagler County has tried to put together a plan that is trying to be fair, so that the folks who, quote, benefit from the beach pay a bit more, and those who don't benefit pay less. One option is to try to hammer out an agreement based on what is fair. How much does everyone benefit? And those in Palm Coast might argue that, hey, we don't live beachside. Why do we have to pay? Those that live beachside might say, hey, I already pay more for taxes and insurance. I have the cost to evacuate. And studies do show that the beach is used quite a bit by people who don't live on the barrier island. But this is where I think the approach needs to change. Why? Because life is not fair. What I mean by that is that there are some things in a community that have a cost and a benefit. Some receive more benefit, some receive less, but we're all obligated to pay an equal amount. And let me give you a couple examples. School tax. Now, I'm a senior citizen. I live in a 55-plus community, but I'm still obligated to pay my fair share of school tax. Is that fair? I mean, there could be some families in Palm Coast and Bunnell with 3 and 4 kids who get to send their kids to excellent schools based on the back of my tax contribution. I don't get a direct benefit. What about playgrounds and recreation centers? I don't have kids who use them. I don't play pickleball. Libraries. Hey, I download my books on my Kindle. Why should my taxes go to the library? Law enforcement, Beverly Beach doesn't have a crime problem, but my taxes have to go to support the sheriff. And I'm a snowbird. I'm only here 6 months out of the year. Hey, why should I pay taxes for 12 months when I'm only here half the time? I think you get my point. As you can see from these examples, in my opinion, it would be ridiculous to think that we can figure out a solution to the beach renourishment by trying to be fair. Instead, we need to, hate to use this term, we need to grow some balls. And we need to accept the fact that it needs to be done. We all need to step up and do our part. So here's my proposal. Let Flagler County be the adult in the room. Let them increase the millage by a minuscule amount to everybody in the county, so it equates to maybe $50 a year. Let's also have the half-penny sales tax. Don't give anything back to one municipality over the other. We're all in this together. Put any excess funds into an interest-bearing account because there's going to be future. So I've been cut off. I'm going to hand this to Andy. Thank you for letting me speak, and I do appreciate it. And hopefully one of these days we'll have some women on the board too.
Thank you very much. Send those down to the next speaker. Thank you.
RJ Santori. I live in Flagler Beach. Our family owns a business on the west side of the county, manufacturing fireworks, and I grew up in Palm Coast. I know that each of you have constituents that you have to answer to, and I appreciate the difficult decisions you face in trying to do what's best for them. We are incredibly fortunate to live in a county with a beach. Our beaches aren't just for a few residents to enjoy. They are the backbone of our local economy. Tourism, driven largely by our coastline, generates nearly $900 million annually in economic impact. Outside of agricultural, there are a few other major economic drivers in our community. Without a thriving beach, we risk losing the essential revenue stream. To put into perspective, let's look at how beach renourishment has benefited other areas. A 2023 article from NJ.com highlighted New Jersey's investment in renourishment. Since 1990, Cape May has undergone 13 replenishment projects at a cost of $144 million. In return, just in 2022, Cape May County generated $7.4 billion in direct tourism spending, welcoming over 11.4 million visitors. While we may not be at that scale, the data clearly shows that our beach economy is growing. Since 2012, our bed tax revenue has increased by 273%, from 1.5 million to 5.6 million. Compare that to other counties. Clay County, which is inland, population 232,000, 1.8 million. Highlands County, 1.8 million. Putnam County, less than 800,000. Looking at our coastal neighbors, well, obviously St. John's of Volusia got a leg up on us. Despite our smaller population, Flagler punches well above its weight in tourism dollars. This is because of our quirky small town beaches. Let's ask ourselves, why did we move here? Why did our parents and grandparents move here? Why do visitors choose our county? Overwhelmingly, the answer is the beach. It's the restaurants, shops, and amenities that make our community special have followed because of it. Now let's consider what happens if we continue to delay renourishment. The beaches will erode further. The word will get out. Tourists stop coming. Businesses start closing. Unemployment rises. County revenue declines. Services suffer, and to fill the gap, our taxes go up anyway. So it's time to act now. I'm running out of time, so I'll just say thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Jim Howard, and I'm a commissioner with Beverly Beach. And I just wanted to ask Mr. Cooley and Mr. Spradley a question about, it's a survey that I understand was taken as to the usage of the beach in Flagler Beach. Do you have any knowledge of that? Could you explain maybe to the public how you came to the figures and maybe share the figures with us?
I don't have the figures handy. However, that was using a county program called Arrivalist. and the tourism department utilizes that. And so, anybody can get it. Y'all can do a request for it through the tourism department, and you can put in whatever request for different snippets of time, and what type of information you're looking for. Now, that program does take, because it's so robust, it does take Amy a little bit of time to pull that together. So you just got to give them time. But that's actually county data. And that was just I forget the parameters, but in I don't have the sheet in front of me, but I can tell you that I believe, and I could be off by a percentage or two, but as of people on the sand, not the utilization of the business district or the restaurant corridor, because this is accurate within a couple feet. The usage of the beach was, there's 2 different zip codes in Palm Coast, and if you add them together, you end up in the low 70s. I think it was 72%. The next closest usage was Flagler Beach residents, and they were around 4%. And then it went down from there. And if you add up all the zip codes that go to the beach collectively, which is what we would consider tourism, that was, around the 20%. But, based off that data, the vast majority of beach users, which would make sense, would be Palm Coast residents because they're in close proximity to the beach. They have, over 100,000 population. Flagler Beach residents, obviously, if all our residents went to the beach every day, we couldn't even get close to that because we only have 5,000 people. But it's an asset. And, I think everybody understands, and I think the leadership in Palm Coast also understands that the vast majority of their residents live there due to the proximity of the beach, the resale value, and all the quality of life amenities that Palm Coast has. But that's kind of the nutshell without having it right in front of me.
Well, the point I was going to make was if you had the figures, and I believe, like you said, they go from 70% to 2% and then lower. And if some of the communities could go back and share this, like Commissioner Miller, if he goes back to, and you have a commission meeting, share it with your people, that 70% of the people that use the beach come from your community. And I'm not picking on your community. I'm just saying that I'd like to see it shared. Ellen kind of covered this in her letter to you, but I would like to see it shared. If it were shared, I think it would be affordable for quite a few of the people, specifically in my community. I live in Surfside Estates. It's 230 homes. Most of the people, the average age is 70. We're all, and I know you have a mobile home park in your community that is in the same shape. So I just hope that, we can reevaluate and rethink how we want to distribute this $160. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooley.
Since we were talking about arrival list and the data, one of the important uses of that data that I've seen, anybody can use data for different uses. And I think one of the best ways to use the data is to really just look at it as this reinforces the belief that the beach is the number one asset in the county. I don't think the data really should be used as, say, you guys got all these residents using the beach, y'all should pay for it. That's really not what that data should be for. It's to recognize that there's this many people in the county that find value in this asset. And I think because there's all these different groups of people, then you say, I never go to the beach, it has no value. But it's to reinforce the fact that the beach does have value to our county residents, I think would be the ideal way to just use that data to really verify that that's the case.
Carlos, can you throw up the image of the plan, again, the funding plan? So there, again, right, we've highlighted a lot of the different areas where funding is playing in. You'll notice the third line down, which is the 0.6 mil. In lieu of raising everybody's millage for that, so that it's a shared cost, what the county is doing is reserving millage just for this purpose. So it is shared. It is everybody's property tax millage that the county receives. What we're doing is dedicating this millage for the beach. It's not going to be utilized in other purposes. It's what we consider that shared cost of property tax that we're receiving. So in lieu of adding an additional millage, be it a tenth or 1%, we are reserving funds that we're already collecting. We're making tough choices to be able to pull this aside and reserve it from the property owners in their millage. So just wanted to make sure we were able to highlight that as we talk about some of those shares. We believe that's another way of distributing the funds that we're receiving from everybody in the county, and by reserving that for this funding plan.
I would add to that 0.6 mil is not an additional 0.6 mil.
Right.
We're just saying we'll eat that. We'll just take out of our budget, we'll take that money. So.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Gene Adams. I live in Beverly Beach as well. I don't quite meet the average population age in the community I live in, but I'm close. But I will say that the population...
You look great.
Thank you. The population of Flagler County, my understanding, is about 135, 140,000, right? And small amounts in Flagler Beach, tinier amount in certainly in Marineland, as well as over here. So the driver of the economy is certainly Palm Coast, with over 105,000 residents. Most of the businesses are in Palm Coast as well. Most of the tourists shop in Palm Coast. And Flagler's got great restaurants. In fact, I ate at one on my way out today, but I shop in Palm Coast. Do all my shopping at Target, Publix, all that, mostly in Palm Coast. So I think I think that the plan that you have in place is really good. I think the half-cent sales tax, as Commissioner Cooley mentioned, spreads it out not just among the community, but spreads it out a lot among the tourists. So I think that's excellent. And for Palm Coast, I would say the 50% plan of them spending 50% instead of the full 100% really does make sense. So I would ask the commissioners up in Palm Coast to really reconsider, because 50% of the extra money that's given to you can be fuel. I would say this: you're the driver of the economy. The beach is the fuel that helps drive the economy. So we need that 50% to help add the fuel to the economy.
Thank you. And a good point you made, if I could add a clarifying point. I know in some of the town halls, there was a misconception that the municipalities keep the sales tax that's generated, and that's not how it works. So we get a countywide distribution of sales tax, and it's through the interlocal agreements that we give those monies back to the municipalities. And it's dictated to us by state, but we do have flexibility through the interlocal agreement to modify that, and that's what we're asking ultimately. With this plan, we will have to enter into interlocal agreements with the municipalities that reflect the plan, so that we can meet the obligation of funding the beach. But Palm Coast doesn't get to save all of the tax money that they receive. It's through the distribution of the interlocal agreement. Next comment, next speaker, please.
My name is Raymond Royer. I'm from Painters Hill section. I'm not in favor of the proposal, only due that you're only republishing with sand. I see that you have determined to be determined for bulkheads or seawalls, whatever you want to call them. 3 years, 4 years down the road, you have that initiated. I also think that abbreviation should go out throughout the budget, because you don't know what's going to happen next year. You don't know what's going to happen 2 years or 3 years. We may have 2 storms, 3 storms come through here. one coming from the west, one coming from the east. And without the bulkheads and seawalls, I think you're, I just don't understand how you're throwing money at sand. It doesn't make any sense. I'm a Navy guy, and I went through typhoons, several of them in the Philippines. And the Navy is the reason why they make steel ships today, not wooden ships, is because we go through typhoons today. The Navy, prior to that, didn't go through typhoons. They couldn't even survive typhoons because they were wooden ships. So again, I think you need to get your head out of the sand and really look at this prospectively, because Painters Hill section was forced to put seawalls in, and put liens on some of the properties that didn't get in the initial plan. I think it was 3 properties, and you put liens on those properties. So that's when you thought you were serious. And then like I stated before, I said there was a gentleman in here that put his own seawall in. It's costing him $500,000. 19 homes, I think it was 19 homes. And Painters Hill, that project cost $2.5 million. This gentleman spent $1.5 million on himself. No help by use. He asked you for help to get his neighbors to go in with him. And the cost is costing him because he has to put sidewalls in. Then you had another gentleman in here that's willing to put a seawall in, and you denied him because you said, oh, he's got to put a house in first. Well, the reason it's costing the other gentleman so much money, because he does have a house. So now he has to find easements, because when you have heavy equipment, he has to find an easement. So that equipment's got to get to the beach every morning, find an easement, access, get down to the house, fix it, do the repairs, pull out, get back on, up on the main, corner of the island. And you guys really got to come up with a really good plan, because your head is in the sand, and it's sickening. It really is. And to raise taxes and say that, they're the major city. Yeah, they're the major city and they're the biggest city, but like they said, they have costs too. And that's why they want half that millage, whatever you're going to do to pay for the roads and their costs. They have constituents that they got to deal with. We all have constituents. I live on the Berry Island. I'm there. But we got to put seawalls in. Get real here. I mean, come on. Like I said, I was in the Navy, and that's the reason why we built steel ships engineered to survive typhoons. Thank you.
I know there'll be some comments on that. Real briefly, though, seawalls are great for the people that have put them up there for their peace of mind and protecting their properties. Mr. Tant was here, who lives on the beach, and he'll tell you all about that because he just finished his. And a lot of what you said about some of the common ones where people are paying into a fund is true, but go back and look at the data, the videos of the storms that hit Volusia County and New Smyrna Beach, and you'll find numerous seawalls that have washed away in the last storm. Seawalls still require a beach nourishment in front of them to stabilize them and to be effective. They're not the end-all, be-all. In Beverly Beach, their seawall is eroding. The sand washes away. The additional sand and the extension of the nourishment will help their retaining wall remain longer than it would without it. And we're not just piling sand on the dune. The nourishment project extends the beach farther out. And as we build those extended beaches, all of the wave action, we build a shelf outside of the high water line. It's farther away from the dune system. All the energy is farther away from the dune system and allows the dune system to grow back. We can show you some examples of over a couple decades where the dune system has regrown due to the pushed out nourishment. But it's an educational process. We get that a lot, and it's not uncommon. And that's all I can do is explain it in that way. Commissioner Hanson, did you have anything?
A couple of things. Again, I'll just reiterate what Mr. Dance said. A seawall does not work. It just doesn't, unless you rehearse.
Another Navy guy.
Yeah, 27 years in the Navy. So So, and I didn't sail wooden ships. The seawalls are fine. They're 10 times more expensive than what we're doing. 10, factor of 10. Think about that. So, and that's just one side of the argument, but the seawall will only work if you replenish the beach in front of it. If you don't do that, the seawall's going away. It's going to go away. The beach is going to go away first, and then the seawall. So they work if you put a combination of a lot of sand, and so you still have to do the beach renourishment. As Andy said, if you don't stop the energy of the waves coming in by doing the beach renourishment, then why do you do it? I mean, you got to stop the wave action, the energy from the waves before it gets to the dune or the seawall.
All right, we got 10 minutes. Did you want to add to that quickly?
I did, just real fast. So back when the Army Corps project, with the initial meetings happened, this is going back about 7 to 8 years ago. And Commissioner Hanson, I think you might have been in place at the time, but we all had a big meeting with Army Corps engineers, and things like those outbreaks, jetties, seawalls, all those things got brought up back when we were talking with the Army Corps of Engineers. And we asked about those being done as opposed to beach renourishment, because the concern was the beach renourishment would potentially not be viable or wouldn't hold up or would wash away. And the Army Corps of Engineers are the people who build the jetties, the outbreaks, and all up and down the coast. You know, up in Rhode Island where they have jetties and all these places, that is all Army Corps of Engineer projects. So here in Florida, where the Army Corps is, they recommended against those. And they had all their engineering stuff that I didn't understand as to why, with currents and on and on. But, you know, this is more just for the public's information. The people that build outbreaks, jetties, and all of those things all over the country were the ones that said that those can't be done in this particular area. I can't explain why. We'd have to go back into the minutes of those meetings to find out what all their engineering was that drove that determination. But I just wanted to let the citizens know that that has been discussed in great depth, back when this first kicked off, it was 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah, I was there, and I remember vividly the discussion of the jetties, because I kind of thought that was the answer. And they show you that it works on the north side of the jetty, and the south side of the jetty erodes, so it doesn't work there. But so I learned a lot there about what you can and cannot do. And they had a big discussion of seawalls and how in this, for what we're trying to do here, the seawalls, without a good replenishment program for the sand, won't work.
All right, let me go back out to public comment. I think there's some of us that expressed an interest to be done by 7. I'll stay here as long as it takes, but just in case you see somebody leave, there are some other commitments. But yes, sir.
David Eckert, Cali del Sur. Thank you for all of the discussion, the quality discussion. The concern I have after listening to this is that within the context of what the county has to achieve in managing the beach, any delay in the clarity of the outcome from this meeting, and most of it, unfortunately, has to deal with Palm Coast, so I'm not targeting that, but that's the more clarity that comes out, the sooner it's going to be very, very important relative to the ability to manage the beach along the 18 miles. And so the issue, you have a beach management plan now. We have maybe a truck project from Varn Park up to Washington Oak State Park that we have enough money to fund. We have the issue associated with Reach 2 being done and how much sand is going down on Reach 2. But I want all of the cities to continue to talk with one another and get this topic on your agendas as quickly as possible, because it's very difficult to write this portfolio of interlocal agreements. And writing this portfolio of interlocal agreements, it could be different, each of you, but the commitment associated with planning this out over several years is going to get very, very confused if you don't nail this down now. So I think where you're at is that the supermajority vote of the county can approve the half-cent sales tax. But there's a big hole in the half-cent sales tax if Palm Coast is not able to sign an interlocal agreement with some clarity in the next month or two. So the issue associated with that and whether you need a supermajority vote in the city of Palm Coast to accept an interlocal agreement, I'm not sure that that's true. I'd like to have you comment on whether that's true. If you pass by a supermajority at the county level, the half-cent sales tax, there are, with a simple majority vote at each of the cities to be able to pass an interlocal agreement, and what the time frame of that legal interlocal agreement would be is very, very important. Now, a 1 year lack of clarity, and it probably can be worked around, but if there are permanent impacts that the 1 year maneuvering takes place, that it deteriorates the solution that you finally come up with on a multiple 6 year, 7 year basis, it's unfortunate that that's going to occur. So I ask the city of Palm Coast for as much clarity that you can and as much legal maneuvering that you can to try to make it clear and offer your support for as much of the sales tax that you can give.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please. Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jim Olsmer. I live in Ocean Hammock, and I will try to make sure we don't stay past 7 o'clock. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I've been coming to these meetings for a variety of things that I've been involved in, my interest in the county for 17, 18 years, and I am impressed by the statesmanship I see here on this dais. And I'm not, you know, it's... I'm being very truthful with you on that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the county did put together a good plan. And the people on this dais see the value in that plan. You know, the woman over here did a very good job of talking about how, you know, you can't do a one-off on, well, this project, you know, isn't everything to the people in my community. But she very clearly identified the fact that the barrier island is, for all practical purposes, a cash cow to the county. We do not send many people to schools. Many of our communities have reserve funds for maintaining the roads and lighting. The county doesn't have reserve funds for those because we pay for them ourselves. So we have been very supportive of the program. We know it's important, and we cannot delay. A referendum is a non-starter, and I think everybody knows that. It would push things off. You'd have to spend money to actually back it and promote it to have any chance of passing. Let's be realistic about it. So anyway, I thank you all. Commissioner Hanson, I thank you for working on behalf of your district and being the driver behind this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next public speaker. All right. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais up here for closing comments. I'll start off only by reiterating what Mr. Olsmer said, and that it's I'm honored to sit up here with you all to have these discussions. Commissioner Cooley for initiating this process. I don't know if this was the one issue you had when you initially brought it together, but it's the format we're utilizing to be able to solve this problem, which is a countywide benefit, which was the intent. Again, there's some amazing leaders that are up here today that I'm honored to sit with to be able to make these important decisions. I'll reserve final comments after everybody else's, but anybody else have anything? Go.
I want to apologize for giving the wrong date, but there was a reason behind that. My wife's birthday was the 22nd of February. I forgot it. So what stuck in my mind was 19 May, my anniversary. Okay? I just wanted to clarify that.
All right, anybody else? Good? Commissioner Spradley?
The progress that there's been made in the dissemination and commenting on the information from the last meeting to this one has been remarkable. So I appreciate all the county's efforts in trying to educate all of us and creating this forum for discussion. Thanks.
Commissioner Cooley, good? Commissioner Hanson?
No, I just want to thank everybody for coming. We are, in fact, the leaders of the county, and it's up to us, the various municipalities and the county itself, to solve this problem. And I think that we're on the way to solving it. I think. Thank you.
Councilman Miller?
Yes, thank you. So just wanted to thank everybody for the commentary. Did want to address the question regarding interlocal agreements from a city perspective. City manager, what would that require? Just a simple majority or consensus from the council? Yeah. Okay. So currently we have 4 council members. So depending on, how this shakes out in the votes, potentially it could be a 2-2 where it fails. We are working on an appointment process right now that's been open. So if there's any District 3 residents here, please feel free to put your hat in or your name in the hat, so to speak. But once we get past that, then we might be able to get a definitive answer if it's not 3-1. Otherwise, in the short term, it would have to be 3-1 in order to get this through in terms of consensus from the council. So just wanted to clarify that information.
Okay, and from what I heard from the mayor and you, at least, a willingness to look at what an interlocal, to at least bring an interlocal back to you, or do you want an opportunity to have the workshop to gain consensus first?
I think that it is smart to continue to work on that so that it's ready when we do punch that ticket, if we do punch that ticket. That way we can get started immediately.
Yeah, because I think as this process works out, from on this side, we've received consensus, and in order to get the issue back to the commissioners to vote on the half penny, we do want to pull all of the consensus together, and then we can bring it back to the commission, knowing that we don't have to have the signed agreements. Give us some consensus to move forward, and we'll do that.
Understood. Yeah, I think it's smart to get that all kind of in place. And from your perspective, I completely understand wanting everything in front of it before the vote versus going through that and then potentially it all falling apart regardless. So I think that's a smart move.
Okay. Honorable Pete Young.
Yeah, I just want to thank the guests here that showed up. I really believe in letting the public know and be transparent on everything we do. I want to thank other city commissioners and mayors here participating in this workshop, and certainly I want to thank the county for presenting this in a professional manner and done a good job in putting it together, and I'm sure their staff did a lot of hard work putting it together. I think the half cent is the way to go if the city of Bunnell believes that this is going to be a county problem, not just Flagler Beach, Beverly Beach, Marineland. I've been here since '74. We moved to Palm Coast when it wasn't even a city, and I graduated in Bunnell High School. So, and I enjoyed the beach. My granddaughters, I have 3 granddaughters, and they're going to enjoy the beach, and they have. So, I have no problem, but I can't answer for the rest of the board. But they get, like I said, they're open-minded. They want to listen, and I'm going to bring back a lot of good information back to them. And I wish we can solve this problem as soon as possible because it's not going to go away. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I would be remiss if we didn't mention the hard work that Ms. Petito and the staff have done to put this thing together.
Months.
It's unbelievable. So
Thank you.
Kudos to them.
Thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. So to put a ribbon on today, right, we wanted to finalize level of commitment. Some municipalities have had the opportunity to workshop it and give us consensus commitment. We have 2 communities that still need to workshop a level of commitment, but I'm very excited about the opportunities. I think I have receptive partners that are willing to continue to work and listen. So we'll reach out to administrators to make sure that there's a workshop or a meeting where we can continue the discussion, and whether it's before or after your seat, I don't know, but either way, it seems like we need 3 votes anyway, so.
I'll bring all the information from this meeting to, unscheduled time at the end of our next meeting,
Okay.
regardless, so that I'm sharing that information of what happened here.
Okay.
Obviously it's also public record, but I'll do my best to pass on as much of this information to them as well, so that it's something they can be thinking about in advance of that meeting that we're talking about.
And so as we move forward, we talked a lot about the ILAs. So with the City of Flagler Beach, Marineland, Beverly Beach, ILAs that transfer the beach maintenance and nourishment responsibility to the county, so that we can also continue to work for grants on their benefit. Creation and adoption of ILAs for the equitable distribution of the new funding, and also ILAs for the distribution of the MSBU. And I've got an ordinance that requires an ordinance to be adopted, and I've got a draft ordinance that dictates the oversight committee, what we call the Municipal Beach Management Oversight Committee. So that's already being worked on, so the county can finalize that, and we haven't looked at this yet, so this still has to be reviewed by the entire commission. But in the commitment that we've made to everybody to listen and to get feedback and to work toward solutions that everybody can agree on, this is one of those, is getting this oversight committee established. So seeing nothing else, and a little bit after 7, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thank everybody in the audience for being here this evening. I appreciate your input and your feedback.